Here's a number nobody in Game of Thrones wants to say out loud. 6 million gold dragons. That's how deep in debt the Iron Throne is. Before a single dragon hatches, before the Red Wedding, before any of the stuff you actually remember. The most powerful seat in the world, and it's drowning. And here's the part that should bother you. Thousands of people die fighting over that throne. Kings, armies, whole houses, wiped out for the right to sit in a chair made of swords. Nobody ever mentions that the chair is already mortgaged. You remember the dragons, the ice zombies, the weddings that went very, very wrong. Almost nobody remembers that the scariest power in this entire story never once picked up a weapon and was quietly winning the whole time. Wait, the throne everyone's dying for is in debt? Who's the landlord? Good question. Hold that thought, because this is the story of how the richest kingdom in the world quietly went broke, and how the people holding the IOU ended up more powerful than anyone wearing a crown. Let's start with the man who lit the match, King Robert Baratheon. Robert is a great warrior and a catastrophic accountant. He wins the throne with a warhammer, sits down on it, and then basically stops paying attention. Running a kingdom is boring. Feasts are not. Tournaments are not. And here's the thing about Westeros. The realm is not poor. There's gold in the ground, harvests in the fields, taxes flowing in from 7 kingdoms. The money is real. The problem was never the income. The problem was a king who spent like the bill would never arrive. When Ned Stark gets named Hand of the King, Robert throws a tournament to celebrate. A lavish one. The kind of money no object spectacle the realm flatly cannot afford. And Robert doesn't blink, because to him, worrying about the cost is beneath a king. His brother Renly puts it perfectly. Robert doesn't think about money. He calls it counting coppers. Beneath him, a thing servants do. So picture the setup. A king who treats the treasury like a bottomless tankard, and a kingdom whose income absolutely is not bottomless. That math only goes one direction. But here's the trick. For years, nobody feels it. The bills get paid. The feasts keep coming. It's like the gold just appears. Which brings us to the magician. His name is Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, and his job is Master of Coin, basically the kingdom's treasurer. Littlefinger has a reputation. They say he can rub 2 gold dragons together and breed a third. Whenever the crown needs money, poof, mountains of gold. The man is a financial genius. Everybody says so. Then Ned Stark, being Ned Stark, actually asks how deep the debt goes, and he gets the number 6 million gold dragons, half of it, 3 million, owed to House Lannister, the richest family in Westeros, the family whose daughter is married to the king. Let that sink in. The crown owes its single biggest debt to the in-laws. So every family dinner, Robert's sitting across the table from the people he owes 3 million gold dragons. It hits different when half the people at the feast are your creditors. But here's the real reveal, and it doesn't fully land until later. Littlefinger isn't a magician. He's not making gold. He's borrowing it. Every single year, he balances the books by taking on more debt and quietly hiding the whole. Oh, he's not a wizard. He's a guy with a credit card and a really good poker face. Exactly. And the magic trick works perfectly, as long as nobody opens the books. Enter Tyrion Lannister. After Robert dies and the whole thing goes sideways, Tyrion ends up as Master of Coin. And unlike Littlefinger, Tyrion actually reads. He cracks open the ledgers, and he finds exactly what Ned found. The crown is drowning. But Tyrion finds something worse, because he sees who else they owe, not just the Lannisters, the Iron Bank of Braavos. And to understand why that's terrifying, you need to understand what Braavos even is. It's a city founded by escaped slaves, people who fled the old empire and built a home where no king could reach them. So Braavos has no king, no queen, nobody you can marry, threaten, or behead to make a debt go away. The Iron Bank doesn't answer to a crown. In a way, it is the crown of money, and it has been lending to powerful men and outliving them for centuries. Its vaults dwarf the treasuries of entire kingdoms. It has bankrolled wars across the known world, and it has one ironclad reputation that everyone knows. You pay the Iron Bank, always, because if you don't, they don't send goons, they don't send lawyers, they find your enemy, they fund your enemy, and they put your enemy on your throne, where the new king's very first job is to pay back the old king's debt. That's not a threat they make. It's a pattern they've repeated for centuries. Stop paying the Iron Bank, and somehow, mysteriously, a rival appears, better armed than he was last week. And your reign gets very short. The Iron Bank doesn't break your legs, it replaces you with someone who will pay. So the bank's debt collector is a civil war. That's crazy. That's the stakes, finally on the table. The crown isn't just broke, it's broke to the most patient, most dangerous lender in the world, and the bill is going to come due. Now here's where it gets genuinely funny. In a grim way, Robert is dead, so the crown can't pay him back, obviously, but it also can't pay back the Lannisters, because by now the king on the throne is Joffrey, Tywin Lannister's own grandson. Think about that knot. The Lannisters are owed 3 million by a kingdom run by a Lannister. You can't exactly send yourself an angry collections letter. As Bronn dryly points out, Tywin's not going to forget a debt just because his grandson's the one who owes it. But realistically, the Lannisters are never going to bankrupt their own puppet king. So that debt just sits there. Pretend money. But the Iron Bank is not family. The Iron Bank does not do pretend money. And the Iron Bank is watching very, very closely. The crown thinks it's busy winning a war. It's actually losing a much quieter one. On a balance sheet, to a city it's never even seen. And then the Iron Bank does the thing it does. It finds a rival. His name is Stannis Baratheon, Robert's younger brother, and after Robert dies with no true-born heirs, the man with the actual legal claim to the throne. The problem? At this point, Stannis is a king with almost no army and almost no money. Best claim in the realm, worst balance sheet. So Stannis and his right hand Davos sail all the way to Braavos to ask for a loan in person, and the first thing the Iron Bank does is make them wait. And wait. The most rightful king in Westeros, cooling his heels like everybody else. When they're finally let in, the bankers sit up high, and Stannis is offered a low stone bench beneath them. He hates it. You can see it on his face, but he sits, because that's what you do when you need the money. You take the small chair. Then the head banker, Tycho Nestoris, gets to work, and he is ice cold. He doesn't care about Stannis' claim. He doesn't care who the rightful king is. He asks for numbers. How many men? How many ships? How much gold? And one by one, Stannis' answers come back small, and smaller, and worse. At one point, the honest answer is just none. Tycho looks at the figures and says dryly that these numbers are unlikely to add up to a happy ending. Loan denied. Thank you for visiting. He showed them his chopped off fingers as a credit reference. Honestly, respect. Yeah, that's Davos. Because as Stannis is about to storm out, his hand does the one thing nobody at that table expects. See, Davos used to be a smuggler. Stannis cut the ends off his fingers as punishment for it, and then, the same day, knighted him for his loyalty, punished and rewarded, both, because both were earned. Davos peels off his glove, shows the bankers the stumps, and calls it an honest accounting. This, he says, is the kind of man Stannis is. He pays exactly what's owed, every time. Cold, fair, precise. Isn't that the single most valuable quality a borrower can have? And then Davos makes the argument that actually lands. He points at the thing the Lannisters don't want, said out loud. Tywin Lannister is 67 years old. He's the only thing holding King's Landing together. And when he dies, who's left to pay you back? A boy king who's a product of incest. A queen everyone despises. A brother who broke his oath. That's your borrower. Or you back the grim, humorless, battle-tested man who has never once failed to settle a debt. And the Iron Bank, a room full of pragmatists, changes its mind. They cut Stannis a loan. Davos walks out with enough Iron Bank gold to go hire his old pirate friend Salladhor Saan and put a fleet back under his king. That's the machine working in real time. The second the sitting king looks like a bad investment, the money quietly gets up and walks to the other side of the war. No drama, just better numbers. Now, quick reality check, because this isn't a fairy tale about an all-knowing bank. Stannis takes the money, and Stannis loses hard. He marches on Winterfell in the snow against everyone's advice, and he dies in a forest with nothing to show for it. The Iron Bank's investment? Gone. Up in smoke. So the bank can lose. Good. I was starting to think they were gods. They're not gods, they're investors, and investors lose bets. Remember that, it matters at the end. But here's the thing about a bank that's funding both sides of a civil war. Losing one bet doesn't break it, it just makes the next collection a little more urgent. And the next ruler it comes to collect from is Cersei. By now, Cersei Lannister has clawed her way onto the throne, and the Iron Bank sends Tycho across the sea to King's Landing, polite as ever. Congratulations on the crown. Condolences for the dead. Now, about that debt. And Tycho lays out the bank's entire philosophy in a couple of sentences. The Iron Bank, he explains, doesn't gamble. It doesn't bet on people it likes. It invests in the side it expects to win. And right now, there's a woman across the sea with 3 full-grown dragons and a growing army, which makes Cersei's throne look like a very shaky place to keep your gold. This is where most people would grovel. Cersei doesn't. She pours the wine. She's calm, almost bored. She tells Tycho what every Lannister tells everyone. They always pay their debts, and she promises to clear the entire balance within a fortnight. Tycho's too smart to believe that, until the wagons arrive, because her brother Jaime has marched on Highgarden, the seat of House Tyrell, one of the oldest and richest families in the realm, and sacked it. Centuries of Tyrell gold loaded onto carts, rolling back toward King's Landing. Cersei uses it to pay off the entire crown debt in one shot, the whole thing. The Lannisters always pay their debts, and this time she actually does. Tycho is delighted, thrilled even, and he immediately does what every banker does to a customer who just proved they're good for it. He offers her another loan, and she takes it. She paid off the credit card. So they gave her a bigger credit card? Absolutely. And she said yes. She takes the new loan to hire the Golden Company, a famous army of sellswords, to crush her enemies once and for all. So look at what just happened. Cersei thinks she beat the Iron Bank. She paid them off, she stared down their collector, she felt powerful. But she didn't escape the bank. She resigned with it. Paying the debt wasn't getting out. It was just renewing the mortgage. Bigger number, worse terms, longer odds. And that Golden Company she borrowed everything for. When the real fighting comes, they get wiped out almost instantly. The bet goes bad. Again. Now step all the way back and look at the whole board. Robert borrowed, Littlefinger hid it, the Lannisters bankrolled it, Stannis borrowed against it, Cersei paid it off and borrowed again. 5 different players, 5 different schemes, and underneath all of it, one quiet constant. Whoever sat on that throne owed Braavos. The crown changed hands over and over, heads rolled, houses burned, cities fell. And through all of it, the Iron Bank never raised a single army, never swung a sword, never set foot on a battlefield. It didn't have to. It just held the debt and let everyone else do the dying. There's an old line that fits this whole show better than any prophecy ever did. The borrower is the slave to the lender. Every king in this story thought they were the master. Not one of them noticed the collar. That's the trick the show hides in plain sight. Everyone's fighting over the chair, and the chair was collateral the entire time. Now, before this turns into some clean little fable about the wise old bank that wins by being smart, let's be honest about what the Iron Bank actually is. It's not a neutral referee. It's not a wise oracle keeping the realm stable. It's a protection racket with very good manners. It makes its money off the exact wars that burn the kingdom down, and it would happily fund the next person to burn it down too, as long as they sign on the line. The Iron Bank doesn't care who wins, it cares who pays. The point isn't that the bank is good, it's that the bank is patient, and patience, with a ledger, turned out to be stronger than every sword in the story. So here's the small thing to actually take with you. Everyone in Game of Thrones was watching the throne. Who's sitting on it? Who's marching on it? Who's plotting for it? The real power was watching the dead. And here's the part that's easy to miss because it's not flashy. Nobody in this story ever felt themselves losing. When Robert borrowed, it felt like a party. When Littlefinger borrowed, it felt like genius. When Cersei borrowed, it felt like winning. Debt never feels like giving up power. It feels like solving a problem. That's the whole trap. Every single one of them thought they were buying time. What they were actually doing, one loan at a time, was handing their future to the people who never had to draw a sword. Now, I'll get personal for a second, and you can take it or leave it. There's a version of debt that's smart. You borrow to buy something that pays for itself. The thing throws off enough cash to clear the loan, and you come out ahead. That's a real strategy. People build fortunes on it. No argument here. But me? I still don't touch it if I can help it, because what this whole story shows you is the part the spreadsheet doesn't. The headspace, the quiet weight of owing, the way a debt sits in the back of your mind and slowly owns a piece of every decision you make after it. For me, that trade is almost never worth it. The math can work and the feeling can still own you. So next time you're watching any fight, on screen, at work, in your own life, and everyone's staring at the shiny chair, do the boring thing. Ask who's holding the IOU, because the person fighting hardest for the throne usually doesn't own it yet. The person who already does is sitting quietly in the back doing the math.